Welcome back to another video from the Debate Room podcast. This video is going to be like a mid-season NFL award show, not award show, but NFL trade deadline, NFL mid-season award show. We're basically at the halfway point of the NFL season. We haven't talked about the NFL in about 2 weeks or so, I think. Well, that's not true. It was like a week or so. We missed last week, but with all the stuff that happened at the trade deadline, I'm honestly not too sad that we missed it. In terms of the actual games from last week, week 9. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and like the video and comment what's your thoughts on all of the big trade deadline moves that we discussed in this video. And follow us on our social media platforms up at the top of the screen to stay updated on when we drop content. But this NFL trade deadline was the most eventful of my lifetime. The NFL trade deadline is pretty usually uneventful because it's very hard to integrate a player midway through the season. It's much easier in basketball when you have a much longer sample size of games to integrate a player into the team. So we usually don't get blockbuster trades at the NFL trade deadline, but this year was amazing. Very exciting today. Multiple elite players moving to different teams, difference making players as well moving to different teams. So we're going to break everything down, give our thoughts on every single NFL trade that happened at the deadline, and then talk about where we see teams at the midseason point and where we see the awards at the midseason point as well. So let's get into it. NFL trade deadline recap. We're going to start off with the biggest move of the day. Sauce Gardner was traded to the Colts from the New York Jets after receiving a 4-year, $120 million deal. He was traded for 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell as well. I think it was a second as well. No, that second was for Quinnen Willams. But 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell, who has had a down year, but does show promise. I think he can still be a solid receiver. I know how Q feels because we're in the Discord, and Max, I haven't heard from you about this. Who do you think won the trade between the Jets and the Colts?
Honestly, I mean, with how the Jets re-upped Sauce this year, right? They re-upped Sauce over the offseason.
Yeah.
I think the Colts fixed an obvious need at the secondary position. I think the Jets did really, really well this trade deadline with getting a bunch of first-round picks for the next 2 years in 2 quarterback deep draft classes. Maybe the talent is not A1, but there are a lot of quarterbacks in these next 2 draft classes if they can find their guy. As we know, Justin Fields is not that. But I think this is, again, I think people are saying that the 2 first-round picks are pretty steep. Sauce a year or so ago was deemed easily a top 4 or 5 cornerback in the league, top 3 by many, only probably to PS2. So I think giving that up for 2 first-round picks, especially with them being, and again, I see it now, don't worry, but a quarterback away in this situation. Me and Latif did not believe this, but it is a quarterback away, it feels like. You called that out last episode.
I don't know why you put me in that.
You didn't believe that either. You didn't believe that they were a quarterback away either.
Don't put me in that, bro. Don't put me in that.
He said the same thing. So I think that this honestly is a great deal. Indy's not a free agent hub. It's not easy for them to get these kind of type of players. And I do think that Sauce, obviously, with this secondary, definitely bolsters it a lot. I think if they can somehow find their way into a quarterback position, this team, I don't know. I'm not going to say sky's the limit, but they have Danny Dimes right now, so I don't believe in him. But the defense is definitely more serious.
Who did you say won the trade?
Honestly, I said this is like a rare. I think it's like a win-win. I think they both got off. I'd probably say, like, as a whole, I think the Jets did a good job of getting first-round picks. I think that they will be able to revamp their team a lot. So I guess in that perspective, like, I think the Jets won because they also traded Quinnen Willams too. They got a lot of assets because their team is just in no man's land. They got off with their guys, and a lot of teams would have held on. But I think the Colts paid a steep price, but they're not going to get him in the open market. That's not a type of player that Indy would attract. So I feel like they never get the high kind of caliber free agent players. So for them to go out and spend on a guy who just got extended, I think that's huge.
Q, who do you think won the trade?
I kind of think they both won. obviously the Jets get a major draft haul with this trade, and then obviously the trade that we're going to talk about afterwards. They pretty much set themselves up the next 2 years to, get a whole bunch of talent. One of those including a quarterback, whoever you decide to pick at quarterback. Next 2 years, you have your shot at any of them. For the Colts, that's clearly a buy now move. They clearly believe that they have the quarterback that could help them compete. If you're giving away 2 future first round picks, that means they're trusting Daniel Jones, and they're just going to build around Daniel Jones and that roster, which is already a good roster. They're just going to be able to add depth. They obviously get they have a top 5 corner duo probably in the league. He's 25. Literally a year and a half ago was considered a top 3 corner consensus. Some had him 2, some had him 1. But today I still believe he's a top 5 corner in football. Obviously the Jets, it's hard to look great on a bad team, but he is what he is. He's paid. He's locked in for the next 5 years, and they drastically needed to help their pass defense. So if they believe that the Colts believe that they're contenders and that they can be a viable playoff team for the next 5 years, then giving up 2 first-round picks for a Hall of Fame potential lockdown cornerback for the next 5 years, then it's worth the price. But it's all contingent on Daniel Jones. It's a bet on Daniel Jones. Same way trading for Micah Parsons and trading 2 first-round picks is a bet on Jordan Love. They're just doing it with Daniel Jones. Obviously, we get it as Daniel Jones, but they believe it. They're 7-2 right now. It's hard to tell them that they're not where they want to be.
I think the Jets won the deal. They definitely, it hurts giving up Sauce Gardner, who is a all-pro caliber cornerback, especially 2 years ago. And I think he's still one of the best corners in the league, especially he's only 25. You just paid him. He's one of the only good players on the roster. It hurts giving him up. But I honestly, and I've seen people disagree with this, getting 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell, who isn't great, but he still has some upside, I think. Getting that package, that's a Micah Parsons, that's a MVP player level package. Like, not a lot of players go for 2 first-round picks at all. A player in Micah Parsons who is clearly better than Sauce Gardner went for a similar package. So I don't think you can say that was a loss for them. They got really great value for Sauce Gardner. And I don't think the Jets were a quarterback away. Not saying they couldn't make moves to be a good team in the next few years, but I think they had other holes on the team, including wide receiver 2. Brees has been good this year, but they had other holes on the roster to where they really weren't a quarterback away from like being a competitor. We saw it last year. They had Aaron Rodgers on that team who has looked like a good NFL quarterback this year, and they were a trash team. They weren't they're not a quarterback away. We saw that last year. Like, not saying Aaron Rodgers is a franchise quarterback at this point in his career, but they're just not a quarterback away. And if they are a quarterback away, it would have been like a great quarterback, probably top 5, top 10. And that those guys aren't coming in the league so often, especially in this next year's draft class. At the top, the quarterbacks aren't great. So I think the Jets won the trade personally. I do think the Colts made a move that they desperately needed. Their pass defense is one of the worst in the league. And so getting a top 5 corner is definitely going to help that. They can also get to the passer. And so having another corner there is going to help them as well. I think the Colts are a borderline contender, and I probably had them as a borderline contender before they made this move. Their offense is one of the best in the NFL. If you can stop Jonathan Taylor, you can stop the Colts. Because Daniel Jones is likely not going to go beat you in a game. We saw that this week, and he had honestly over the last 3 weeks or so, he's kind of came back down to earth. But in the playoff scenario, I think you trust Josh Allen, you trust Patrick Mahomes, you trust a few quarterbacks in the AFC over Daniel Jones when it all comes down to it. So that's the only reason I'm pausing for the Colts. They're obviously a good team, well coached, but I think Daniel Jones hasn't fully escaped the player that he was in New York. And if he needs to be more than a game manager for a playoff game, I'm not very confident in it whatsoever. But I do think the Colts are a dark horse contender in the AFC. They definitely have a shot, especially since no team in the league has looked like a buzzsaw throughout this whole entire season. So we got to see how it goes at the end point of the season. But generally, I'm just a fan of selling high. I think that if you have great players on the roster, that's not going to compete too soon, then getting them when their value is at the highest is the best practice, in my opinion. Now, with football, you can change things very quickly because the draft has good players, good starters from day one in it. It's a lot easier to rebuild in football than it's in basketball. You can change things very, very quickly because the players coming into the league are better earlier on. But I still don't think the Jets would have been competing next year. They're probably 2 years, 3 years away. So getting the value for Sauce Gardner, I think I agree with that move, especially 2 firsts, 80 Mitchell's, whatever. And then they made another move, and we would now talk about Quinnen Willams trade to the Cowboys. They got one of those picks from the Micah Parsons trade, and they also got a second-round pick as well in that deal. So what do we think about the Jets doing a fire sale at the deadline, trading their 2 best defenders? And let's talk more about this Quinnen Willams deal. Obviously, a really good run stopper, really good defensive lineman. He's super young too, and still has a few years left in his prime. So, what do you guys think about them moving him to the Cowboys? And let's talk about the Cowboys end of it as well, because they clearly need defense. They waited till week 9 to do it. I think it might be too late, but what do you guys think about this move? Q, I'm gonna start with you.
To get Quinnen Williams, well, first off, as of right now, the Micah Parsons trade, it's Micah Parsons for Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, and a first-round pick.
But they also give him Mozzie Smith too, with whether you care about that at all. But
garbage. You know what I'm saying? So like, essentially, that's what they did. You could agree or disagree, but Quinnen Williams is a Pro Bowl, All-Pro D tackle, top 5 D tackle in the league. Kenny Clark, rotational D tackle, and you still got a first-round pick in this year's draft for Micah Parsons. I think that's clearly it's not fair, like super even value, but close enough. You're never gonna get full value in a trade, especially when you're trading with a superstar, potential Hall of Famer. But Jerry got close. In hindsight, he fixed what he wanted to fix. Still got a very good play out of the deal. So we could kind of wash our hands with that. They did fine. Getting Quinnen obviously fixed some parts of their defense. You get a real talent on the D line, a run stopper. You can rush the passer a little bit, so that's cool. They will have to pay him, but that's fine. This year's a wash, but next year, you got to stud on the defense at least, and you got your first-round pick and another first-round pick to add to that defense. You don't have to touch the offense at all. The offense is fine. Clearly, it's one of the top 5 offenses in the league. Everything needs to go towards defense. All they got to do is do right with those 2 other first-round picks they had, whether that's trade down, acquire more picks in that same draft, and add talent like that. That's obviously the way to go. Like I said earlier, from the Jet side, clearly they won the trade. Like, they won their side of the trades as well, because they have 7 first-round picks in the next 2 years themselves, along with 4 or 5 day 2 picks. So I think both sides came out fine with this trade as well. Obviously, the Cowboys waited too late after they were pretty much out the playoff picture, but this is a move for, next year and the year after that, not for this year, because clearly this year's wash.
Max, what do you think about? Well, did you talk about the Cowboys part of it too?
I have not yet. No. Me or QJ?
I was talking about. Well,
no,
you're not a Cowboys fan. You're not a Cowboys fan, but I think you're fond of the team. Is it too late for the Cowboys to save their season with the moves they made today, grabbing Logan Wilson, grabbing Quinnen Williams? Can they still save their season and try to make the playoffs? Well, do you think they're going to make the playoffs after making these moves?
Nah, I thought they were going to make the playoffs before the Micah Parsons trade happened. I thought they were going to make the playoffs, just scratch in after they traded him. I kind of gave up on that. it kind of looked good the first 5 weeks, like, oh, maybe they might be able to scratch in the NFC, but this year the NFC too stacked, and they're already too far behind the 8 ball. Like, they'd have to pretty much go, what, they lost 5 games, 6. Yeah, they'd have to pretty much go win 7 straight games to make the playoffs. That's just not happening in this conference right now. So yeah, this over with. Jerry waited too late. The Cowboys also squandered some games. Panthers game they let slip through. Utterly got played by the Bears. Between those 2 games, I think those are 2 winnable games. They should have won those games. They wouldn't even be. Then this trade would have made even more sense. But
Cardinals too.
And the Cardinals, I think they let too many gimmies slide. Like, they were supposed to win all their games. Like, this was the easy part of their schedule. After the Raiders game, they could have left out the Raiders game like 6-3, and felt a lot better than themselves. But they're just not. So yeah, it's over with.
Max, what was your reaction to Quinnen Willams getting traded to the Cowboys? Who do you think won the trade? Cowboys playoff chances? Talk to me about the whole ordeal.
Like I said, I definitely think that the Jets, even though it's going to hurt for Jets fans, being a unbiased person on this trade deadline day, I think the Jets definitely put themselves in a position to rebuild, which is huge. They needed people in the receiving room. They got Mechie and Adonai, like AD Mitchell, which is great, fine, do whatever. Like, just a need. Obviously, their team is going nowhere, so getting the first round picks was what was valuable. They were easily able to, I think 3 first round picks for the next 2 years. 3 first rounds maybe next year and 2 the following, but they get another second. So you get a lot of picks to revamp that team. And again, if you find a quarterback you fall in love with, you can now trade up for him in this next draft or the following. So I think if the Jets are able to draft well, if they're able to find their guy, this looks really smart. I honestly, this year might be a punt for the Cowboys at this point in time for where they're at, as far as they just did a move too late. But Dallas still intrigues me now as a team that has to address the secondary this offseason. But they're a couple pieces away from a team that I actually think could make a playoff push. I know we look at them always in a light being Dallas, but a lot of it has to do with health and injuries, especially with Dak and CD. So if you can get this offseason, whatever, finish through the season, whatever, if you can run back next year with the receiving core you have, with Ferg, with Pickens, with CD, with fully healthy Dak, Javonte played well this year so far. If you can try and get more offensive line pieces and pieces in the secondary, the Logan Wilson, the Kenny Clark, the Quinnen Willams move, I'm not going to say it's a contender, but it sounds like a good team on paper to me. And I actually think that if you get a favorable schedule, this team could compete and maybe win the division. I think that this defense, again, it sucks, but Jerry kind of looks smart right now for what he got out of the Micah deal. I know everyone shit on him for it, and I agree. Like, I don't hate what they got in return for the Micah deal. They still kept a first round pick, and you're able to get Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams on the inside. And it's also let Donovan Ezraku do his thing on the outside as well. So there are pieces to Dallas's defense that are intriguing. And I'm not going to sit here and say they won the deal because I don't think they necessarily did. But I think that this insane trade that went down, I think it looks a little better nowadays because they were able to add more pieces on defense. I also don't know why they didn't trade for Sauce instead of Quinnen Williams. I think the secondary need would have been more. But either way, I think that this team has obvious needs to address in the offseason. And I get the NFC is stronger now, but you could definitely put yourself in a position with Dak at quarterback, with the receiving core you have, to potentially make a little bit of noise next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they can make some noise next year as well. If they're gonna hit on some draft picks as well. I believe in Dallas drafting. Dallas made these moves a little bit too late. They're already 3-5-1. They got a tough schedule, and I don't think it completely fixes their defense. Their secondary is still very vulnerable. Deron Bland is overpaid. Probably one of the worst contracts in the league, honestly. Trayvon Diggs isn't good either, and he's hurt for the season. So their secondary is still vulnerable. They still don't have great pass rushers, and Quinnen Williams can stop the run. Which their interior D line is actually pretty good right now. And I like the Logan Wilson pickup as a linebacker, but their defense is still just not going to be good enough. Their offense hasn't been hitting on all cylinders like it needed to. They only scored 17 points against the Cardinals.
10.
They had
They scored.
block,
The
block,
team scored 17. They had a block punt. They had a block punt.
Not gonna lie, I did not watch that game. But yeah. So yeah, the Cowboys are done this year, but they do have. I'm not gonna say they have a bright future, but they can definitely be back.
It's intriguing. It's honestly not that bad.
The Cowboys can be back to being a threat in the NFC next year if they draft well enough, for sure. And they still got a first round pick in next year's draft, along with their own. They still got 2 first round picks in next year's draft to work with, so they should be able to do that.
I feel like I'm never a Cowboys fan in the slightest. Like I never. Obviously, you guys know this, but like this is probably the most like they like how I said the Jets have a path. The Cowboys have a path to contention if they can just address and accurately hit on their picks.
And as far as the Jets, I mean, again, sell high. I like it. A first rounder and a second rounder for Quinnen Willams is amazing value, honestly.
They should have went if they were gonna do that. They should have went all in. I understand they wanted a 3rd round pick for Breece Hall. They should have just took the 4th. Like, there's no point of keeping Breece Hall because they didn't sign him to a contract in the offseason. They're most likely not going to sign him this offseason. They're not going to tag a running back. That'd be ridiculous to give him $18 million or whatever the case. It'd probably be like 17 mil, and you came and flex it around. That's straight up 17 million in your cap. That messed them up. So it's like you might as well have just let him go. You could have kept Garrett Wilson, you know what I'm saying, and everything else could have just left. But I don't know why they didn't just go all in on that and just get rid of him as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. And yeah, the Breece not trading Breece, I don't know. Especially since isn't his last year's contract? So
yes,
he's a free agent. Yeah. So you might as well got value for him. You can still get value for him.
At the same time, if they get a quarterback this offseason, you gotta give him as much help as you can in that first year. And I think having Breece and Garrett Wilson would obviously help that out significantly. O-line is still the O-line, but like I feel like you have to help that situation as much as possible. I don't know. So maybe you think you can re-sign him, but
Jets sell high, good job. I'm always a fan of selling high. The Steelers need to take notes. Even if they make the playoffs this year, take notes because y'all are not competing for a championship. Take some notes. JJ Watt could have got you. You traded Mika French practice. JJ Watt could have got something like that. I mean, Jalen Ramsey he's fried. So I mean, he's not gonna get you nothing either. But JJ Watt can still get you a haul. Next move was Rhasheed Shaheed to the Seahawks. I'll start with this one. I think it's a great move. I like what Torrey Horton was doing. Honestly, I like what Torrey Horton was been doing this whole year. Honestly, but getting that deep threat to help Sam Darnold. I mean, they already have a deep threat in Jackson Smith-Njigba. Obviously, he can do other stuff around the other field, but he's been a really good deep ball receiver this year. But reuniting with Clint Kubiak, perfect fit. He had his best year of his career basically last year with Clint Kubiak, especially when the Saints were cooking for those first 2-3 weeks in the season. And I think this makes the Seahawks offense even more dangerous. They already have a really good defense, and so adding a piece like Rhasheed Shaheed makes them a much more dangerous team in the NFC. And I think it puts them in that tier of the Seahawks are a dark horse threat in the NFC. They're a dark horse. If they made the Super Bowl, it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. To be honest, I really believe that. They got a nice little running back duo with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Obviously, very, very well coached on both sides of the ball. Sam Darnold's playing the best football of his career. If he can continue to play at his level that he's been playing in this regular season, then I think it's even more impressive than what he was doing last year. They're going to be a threat come playoff time. I just really believe that. So that's my spiel on a Rhasheed Shaheed move to the Seahawks. What do you guys think of that deal?
I think it was fine. For 4th and 6th, value. Seahawks, know what they're doing. John Snyder is one of the best GMs in football. It helps out Sam Darnold. Give him a deep that he's a big play, big play quarterback. Could throw the ball downfield, got great arms, so that helps in that aspect. And because JSN is so good at all levels of the field, that allow him to just eat and get peppered with targets underneath Shaheed and Horton to take the top off, and you just leave JSN single cover with anybody down there in the middle of the field, and that just opens up their offense even more. Like you said, they're I wouldn't be surprised. Definitely think they're dark horse contenders. I think they're probably the fourth best team in the NFC. Uh, just about. It's cool that Sam Darnold looked like he's one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football. Probably gonna re-up on his contract again this year. Get another extension as long as he's able to play well. Doesn't go pumpkin mode in the playoffs. Things are shaping up for the Seahawks. Always been a very stout organization. Like I said, good coach, good OC, good GM. I think they got all the makings of a good organization. Great defenses. Clearly not like a surprise that they're winning games and they're making moves like this.
Next, Sam Darnold, you were confident in the Vikings, and now he's on the Seahawks. I don't remember what you said preseason for the Seahawks. I think I said they were
They're
beating
my
some
playoff
teams.
team. I had them as a playoff team.
Okay, I don't think I
I had
did,
them as a
but
playoff team, and I regret it when I said it, and now I look smart. But no, I fell for the Sam Darnold thing early season, but I did not believe him in the playoffs last year, and I will continue with that narrative. I think that this Seattle team is very, very good. The defense is there, obviously. The offense has been putting out on all cylinders. I can't trust in a game like them versus Tampa. I can't trust Sam Darnold to go win a game over a guy like Baker, or I can't trust Sam Darnold to go win a game over a guy like Jared Goff, or name your quarterback that he's going to compete with in the NFC. So I think this team is very good. Again, I think you saying fourth in the NFC shouldn't take away from how great they've been this season, right? Like again, there's
No,
Detroit.
that's a
I
compliment.
agree. That's what I'm saying. I think when you say they're the fourth best team, it's like, oh, what are are they even contenders? But there's the Lions, the Packers, the Eagles, them, the Bucks. Like they're the Rams. I would say there are like six good teams in the NFC who all look like at times where they can be the representative from the NFC in the Super Bowl. The Rhasheed Shaheed move, I'm not going to say it doesn't move me because that'd be wrong. I do like what I saw from Torrey Horton, and I think kind of taking away a little bit from that, but you're giving Sam Darnold another weapon. So I was definitely surprised with him going for 2 picks. I didn't know he'd go for 2, but yeah, you add another piece of that core. Cooper Kupp, obviously he's on the way out is an understatement, but yeah, I think at the end of the day they got better, but I think that the asking price, it's not like giving up a 6th-round pick is nuts, but I didn't think he'd go for 2 picks.
it wasn't too crazy picks though.
No,
It
I
was
thought it was like a 4th though. I was
Yeah,
thinking a 4th,
fourth and a
5th pick.
sixth. They wanted a third. They got a fourth. That's fine.
Yeah. Next move, another wide receiver traded Jakobi Meyers from the Raiders to the Seahawks. We can talk about this from both sides. The
Jaguars.
Raiders. You said what?
To the Jaguars.
Jaguars. I'm sorry. The Raiders. I think they continuously get worse. Honestly, I mean they're already terrible.
Yeah,
But
it was not Jacoby's fault. Let's make that first clear. Jakobi Meyers is still a good receiver. He's still a good receiver in the NFL. It was not his fault in the slightest, in my opinion. He should not be the one to blame about the issues happening in Las Vegas. But
I mean, he didn't want to be there. He asked to be traded before the season started.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He wanted his
He
money.
just told him no, and they still end up trading him anyway. For the Jags, like I get it. Travis on IR. BTJ's having up and down, like mostly down, but he's been inconsistent this year. He needed a solid, wide receiver, run the route tree, get open, whatever, be a safety net. That's Jakobi Meyers. He could do that, like your regular veteran wide receiver. And they needed some bodies in that room. And for the time being, while Travis is out on IR, he should be help them make a playoff push, whatever the case may be. He's not like the biggest needle mover. Like he probably move me more on other teams, but the Jags, they had a need and they filled it. Even if it's only for the rest of the season, can't complain too much. Jags kind of win. Raiders continue to suck. They're not good. They should have pulled the trigger, and I understand they want to keep Max Crosby, whatever the case may be, but they could have just traded Max Crosby. Trade everybody except for Gentry and Bowers and keep it pushing, get whatever you could get and then rebuild next year. But you can't do that when you have your coach is the oldest coach in the NFL. So you're going to try and win now, and that's kind of how they're moving. But I think it's the wrong process.
I feel like, I think I like not trading Max Crosby right now just because, like, I think you can get more for him in the offseason when you can have a bidding war and then everybody knows what their cap space is and their draft capital. I think it'd probably be smarter to trade Max Crosby in the offseason. But the Raiders are a disaster. Never thought they were going to be that great this year. Didn't have them making the playoffs, but definitely didn't expect what they're probably going to finish with, like 6 wins, 5 wins this year, probably. As far as the Jaguars, I really like the move. They're kind of like in no man's land where they still have a chance to make the playoffs, and they definitely needed like some wide receiver help. They are amongst the league leaders in drops. And Travis Hunter, who is probably their second best wide receiver, or De'Ami Brown, one of those two, has went down with an injury. So, and BTJ hasn't been himself, so they definitely just need another weapon for Trevor Lawrence. You got to support what you think is your franchise quarterback. So I like the move. It's not franchise changing like that, but it'll definitely help them this year, for sure. So it's a whatever move. It's not a whatever move. It's a significant move. It'll help them, especially if Jakobi Meyers can be good, which I think he could be a solid wide receiver too. Yeah. So
I just think you're getting that room crowded, especially if Jakobi wants to get re-signed, like with Travis, with BTJ, with Jakobi. Like, you keep Jakobi around until you get those guys off their rookie deals, but like, he's obviously the expendable one going forward. But
they just might miss the playoffs.
The Jags?
It's going to come down to the Jags, the Chiefs, and the Chargers as of right now.
For the last spot, you're saying?
Yeah. Depending on what – either the Chiefs are going to win the division or they're going to miss the playoffs. It's one or the other.
The Chiefs?
Yeah, it mostly depends on what Denver and the Chargers do. But
yeah,
if the Chiefs don't win the division, there's a chance that they don't make the playoffs due to tiebreakers.